This is the 91st minute.
Last week, Cristiano Ronaldo was recently in the news following a preseason friendly. He spoke to ESPN and is quoted as saying, "The Saudi League is better than the MLS. I'm 100% sure I won't return to any European club," says Ronaldo. "I'm 38 years old and the European football has lost a lot of quality. The only valid one, still doing good, is the Premier League. They're way ahead of all the other leagues." Recently, Karim Benzema, Marcelo Brozovic, N'Golo Kante, Roberto Firmino have all made the jump to play in Saudi Arabia. And Ronaldo says, "I opened the way to the Saudi League, and now all the players are coming here." You know, classic Ronaldo. I think this was following a 5-0 loss in preseason or something.
Yeah, it was, yeah. To Celta Vigo, yeah.
Yeah, so what do you make of this? He's hitting a lot of points here. He's hitting Saudi League, he's hitting MLS, he's hitting European football. He's opening the path like Moses, you know? What's your least favorite thing about this? And, what is there any truth to what he's saying here?
I would like to, the ego on this man is, I always knew it was there, right? But now it's even more there than ever. I don't understand, you were a fantastic player, dare I say a phenomenal player, probably one of the best of all time. I prefer Messi. I don't think that's a secret. I think I've mentioned that before. In the Messi versus Ronaldo go, I'm a Messi man, you know? But yeah, just the sheer ego on him. Let's not get it twisted. Those players are going there for a shiny golden ticket towards the end. For the most part, I know there are some players perhaps a little bit younger that are going to be tempted by the money and are indeed tempted by the money. We've talked about the Saudi League itself and how obviously they're trying to do something. The fact that they have a cajillion dollars helps, right? The MLS can't compete with that, I don't think. If you offered me the chance to watch the three that he mentions, I'm going European football, and I would start with the Premier League. So I agree with him, it's the best. But I think the Italian League, the Spanish League, the German League, and the French League, it's a bit of a one-trick show. But those would be my Europe first, MLS second, Saudi third, without question. And I do watch MLS games sometimes. So for me, I shook my head, probably rolled my eyes all the way back, so that I was looking backwards, or even further, maybe down at my feet, but reverse. Yeah, so that's where I'm at.
I think the bit that interests me is I'm not moving back to a European club ever again. Well, let's say PSG use the money and throw that Mbappe money at Ronaldo and say, how about at the end of your Saudi contract, you come and do a season at PSG and we'll pay you Mbappe's level of money and make you all those roles that Mbappe had. I bet you he'd go, yeah, all right. It's just nonsense, isn't it? It's nonsense to say he's never going to sign. He says he's never going to sign for a European club again because he knows that he's at the end of his career. That's what he means. But you've seen with Zlatan, right? He went to MLS and then went back to Europe and had a great career after that as well. If PSG offered him that amount of money, he would go and sign for them. I don't know why you would even say that. I don't know why you would come and say that thing. But I agree with Milo. I think that there's lots of players moving to Saudi, most of them at the end of their career for a big golden ticket, as Milo said, and I think you don't know if it's going to be better than the MLS because those players haven't actually played in a season yet. He's saying it's better than the MLS when it hasn't really started with all of these players. So yeah, for me, I'm with Milo. Europe, MLS, Saudi. It's going to take a lot of a big swing in somehow to get me to watch Saudi football. I tune into MLS because of the time zone. It works for me here. That's why I can do this podcast with you guys. But I just don't know. I just don't. The players they're signing don't make me want to go and watch it. And I think that's maybe my generation. I don't know if the younger people will think of tuning in because of the Benzemas and Ronaldo and people like that. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't agree with anything he said, basically.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with him about the Premier League being the cream of the crop as far as Europe is concerned. I'd say as far as the world is concerned. I think it's interesting that him saying he'd never go back to Europe has big "you can't fire me, I quit" energy. Because didn't Man United offer him to every club in Europe essentially, and they were all like, no thanks. And I think that's how he paved the way to the Saudi League, was because no one in Europe wanted to sign him. I'm really curious how the actual people with the deep pockets paving the way to the Saudi League feel about him taking credit. They probably don't care. I just think it's something interesting I was thinking about. And the MLS stuff, it's really easy to say that a league that you would be arrested as soon as you step foot in the country for, like if he came to the MLS, he wouldn't. I mean, you'd have to handle or settle all of his legal issues. I know the one case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to get evidence if it came here, because it could be DNA evidence. Who knows? Anyways, I thought that was a weird shot by him. The European stuff I kind of get because he came from there. But is the Saudi League really, like, on a global scale, is it really compared to MLS? Because I don't feel like that's what the Saudi League is striving to be. Like, oh, we're better than them. Like, no, I feel like with the money that they're throwing around, they're trying to be like with the Premier League, with the Bundesliga, with La Liga, they'll be in the Champions League within 5 years, right?
Well, they're in a different confederation, but I think that's the goal. That's a goal of theirs. You know, they've already kind of broken the Asian Champions League, or at least they have, sections. I think they have five or six sections, right? They're not having Australia play Bahrain,
right.
They have their regions are playing each other. So they already have some sort of jurisdiction as far as that goes. But about the Saudi League is better than the MLS. MLS is following the American sports structure. So it's so difficult to compare MLS to European clubs. Saudi is following the European club model, right? They are quoted as saying they want to be the fifth biggest league in the area, and I think they are perfectly on track to do that. I'm not saying, I don't think they're trying to be bigger than the Italian league or the Spanish league or the Premier League, or even the French or German league. They're trying to get people that would be watching the Portuguese league, the Scottish league, the Dutch league, the Belgian league, and get those eyes to Saudi. Get the prospects that would be going to those smaller leagues to go to Saudi instead, and that's where you build something. Yeah, I mean the infrastructure I don't think is there, right? This is all about diversification of economy, whatever. So as far as that goes, in the same way that the Premier League is better than the MLS, the Saudi league is better than the MLS because of the salary cap. Right now, if you want to talk about the USL, right, in America, that has, I think, 3 tiers of promotion relegation they're looking at, or maybe two for now. Then you could say, then maybe you could argue this USL is better than Saudi because there isn't that top-heavy environment of 4 clubs buying everything out. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but the thing about him talking about paving the way for the Saudi League is perfectly fine. I think that was a big move to be the first one, right? That he literally spearheaded it. Like Beckham was the first big name to go to MLS. After that, many followed him. Obviously not in the same quantity that they're going to Saudi, right? But I looked this up. When Beckham came, it was 2000, I believe, 7 or 5 or 7. Actually, I thought I looked this up. Christian Pulisic. How old was Christian Pulisic at the time? He was 8.
Still in his dad's nutsack. Oh, okay.
He was 8 or 9. Right, and this is my point. Pulisic is the first kind of modern-ish player to play for Dortmund's youth system, and that is the focus. I think that is the inspiration of what Ronaldo will provide to the Saudi people. Right, Pulisic isn't a world beater, right? But he's the first one to kind of get somewhere and somewhat get established in a European league, right? And so we're looking, that was what, I don't know, when 12 years later, Pulisic showed up there. So, I mean, the repercussions of what the Ronaldo move is going to do in Saudi could not be seen for another 12 years. You know, when these kids that are 7, 8, 9 years old are watching him play in his area, you know, inspired to do to make a move. Maybe the parents see, oh wow, you know, that something's possible here.
But wouldn't the difference between that and Saudi Arabia, that in Saudi Arabia and that in America, is that my understanding is that Saudi Arabia have already got a huge football following that would have known who Ronaldo is, and these kids would have known who Ronaldo is and Messi and everyone else, whereas America didn't really have that. Like, they knew who Beckham was, but they weren't watching the sport religiously. Like England, Europe.
That's true.
My understanding is that Saudi Arabia were already watching football. It's just now they want to bring it to their
Beckham was far more of a brand himself. I feel like I don't know that. I know CR7 is probably more followers, more views, all that stuff in this day and age. Mm-hmm. But at the time, Beckham was really kind of the first brand footballer. You know what I mean? He was his own brand coming out of that generation. So, like I said to you, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and like, you know, it may have had some repercussions down the line, good repercussions. What would that be called? I don't know. But tell us in the comments what I mean to say.
Rewards.
Yeah, maybe it is rewards down the line, like you're saying. But, you know, if Pulisic, do you really think? I mean, has Pulisic said the only reason I started playing football was because Beckham went to the Galaxy? No, right?
No, I don't think
that's what I mean.
But I think Beckham going would have put more eyes to understand that America might have that talent, and therefore that talent could grow. And that's my argument, is that I think Saudi Arabia has loved football anyway, and they've wanted to get people out there into football, but this never happened. So I don't know why Ronaldo going is going to then make more kids think they could be Ronaldo, because I think a lot of kids in Saudi Arabia would have already wanted to be Ronaldo.
Well, because they're going to start investing in the clubs and the academies, right?
That's what you hope, right? That's what you hope.
There's talk of them offering like crazy sums of money for coaches to come coach the 3rd division there. Apparently 5 million euro a year they'll pay you. They'll give you a house and a car and all this stuff. Like, they're trying to build something, you know. Maybe it will take a little longer because MLS somewhat had academies and whatnot, and club football was pretty established here. But you know, like, I'm trying to look at it with the silver lining here. I mean, you can't just say it's just a pump and dump type of thing where they're just doing it for the 2030 World Cup. That's fine. That's a very like kind of, or whatever, 2032 or 2034. That's one way to look at it. But if you look at it like, you know, they are actually investing into the club. Like, they weren't investing whatever it was 10-20 billion into their football infrastructure before.
What are they do we have any details on what they're doing as far as academies and stuff like that go? Because I mean, you know, it's all well and good to offer 5 million a year or whatever to a 3rd division manager.
Yeah,
you know, at the moment it just looks like, okay, we have all the money, we're just going to chuck it at everything, and that will fix it. It will become the biggest thing, or it will become relevant in that market. Maybe not the biggest thing, I don't want to take it to like the extreme, but what I'm wondering is, like, you can't buy a football culture. They have a football culture of their own and they want to expand that. Sure, great. I just think, like, at the moment, if this is stage 1, just throwing millions and millions and millions out there, it isn't necessarily, I don't know that it will work, I guess is what I'm saying. It might, and like you said, we might have to wait many years, but, like, you know, for example, Ajax's academy is considered one of the best in world football, right? Whatever your thoughts are on the Dutch league, Ajax consistently produce phenomenal players year after year after year. Their academy is known worldwide for that. Like, for Saudi to get to that level of, maybe not the extreme, I'm not saying they need to get level with Ajax's academy, but to have an academy that relevant on the world football scene will take a lot more than just investment up front. I think they're going to have to follow it through.
You hope they've learned from what they saw in China, right? What happened in China, where China's approach was just throw money at current players and don't do anything for investment actually in the club, excuse me. And you hope that Saudi Arabia have learned from that that it's going to take more than just chucking millions at it in the first couple of years. It's got to be investment, and I think that's what we'll see in the future, right? We don't know if that's going to happen. I haven't heard any news about the clubs investing the same amount of money they're paying Ronaldo into the academy, sort of thing. The same amount of money they're giving N'Golo Kante and Benzema into the academies and stuff like that. What I have heard from a friend at Football Here is his mate back home, who was the goalkeeping coach for the Bristol ladies team, who had just got promoted to the Women's Premier League in England. He got poached by a Saudi Arabian club, and they quadrupled his wage to go from a Premier League female team to a Saudi Arabian team. Obviously, he took it and he's gone, which is great. It's good for his career, and he is now going to go and coach those people. But he's, I'm interested to get updates from him to be like, what's happening at the club? What's happening in terms of the style? Explain to me what's going on. What have they sold you the vision as? Or is it just a case of here's a bag load of cash, come and coach us for 3 years?
That's really interesting. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I'll try and get some info.
But I think that's a perfect example that I think we just, let's not assume, but I think we could make a pretty educated guess that they're not just looking at big stars and signing them, right? They're obviously investing deeper in the infrastructure of the league. And I'm sure there's many, many, many more stories just like your friends, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways.
I'd agree with you. I think they would be investing in that stuff. It's just that we haven't heard of it yet, because the headline grabbing news is the players, right? That's what they want to share.
Okay. I'm going to take it a step further, get a little political here. What does that tell you about the, the media here coverage? Is it fair? I don't know.
Well, I think I would assume, obviously this is a big assumption because I'm not in Saudi Arabia, but I would assume the news in Saudi Arabia is all focused around the players as well, because and I'm not saying there's no news around the youth academies, but the big selling point at the moment is we've got Ballon d'Or winner Benzema, we've got 7 times winner Cristiano Ronaldo, we've got N'Golo Kante, one of the best holding midfielders who was in the world. That's the headline news. That's what you need to get the attention.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that if they want that legacy, they are investing that money as well. And like we've said, that will be known in 4, 5, 6, 7 years' time, a decade's time, half a decade's time, whatever. That's when you start seeing that. And then do you start seeing more Saudi Arabian footballers around the globe playing their football in different leagues? Great. That's good for them as well.
Yeah, I guess we just got to we got to find out. We got to find out somehow about this thing. But I feel like it's such a bad faith mindset to think that they're not. To me, I'd say I assume they are, and then I'll be proved wrong. But personally, I just think it's I'm fighting against all the the media hoopla about Saudi Arabia here, because they want you to think that they're not doing it. They want you to think they're just throwing money at it and done. I'm just getting a little
I'm hoping
anti-conspiratorial.
The only experience I have is China, where they didn't. That's why it's drawing so many parallels to China, because China did exactly this and it didn't work. So
how much do you know what the capital investment was in China? I wonder if it was 20 billion.
Oh, it was stupid. Didn't they pay Oscar something like? They paid like 80 million just to sign Oscar from Chelsea. And that was all
20 billion
investment from the government, and then 20 million a year or something. I'll see if I can Google it, but it was stupid money.
Interesting. On the topic of the Premier League being better than the other leagues, I agree with Ronaldo. And people, there's probably a lot of Premier League bias here, but you can just see it, right? I think in the La Liga, if you look at the stats for this summer, one team has spent more than all the other teams combined, like 3 times over or something. Real Madrid spent 138 and Barcelona spent like 3 million. Obviously, La Liga restrictions, Spanish restrictions, government restrictions, all that stuff. But the Premier League has just excelled better than all the other leagues at promoting a healthy competitive environment. Sure, there's you have your Manchester Cities who quote unquote walk the league, but the rest of the league is investing. Bournemouth is challenging AC Milan for signings, etc. Things like that. I think is what he's talking about. How Premier League still has a bit of quality than the other leagues. Anything else you guys want to add?
Just for him to say he was. You could read out the exact wording again if you want to, but basically he was alluding that the other leagues are finished, and You know, like it's, I don't know. Yeah, it definitely. I agree with what Hoff said. I forget what the exact word you used, Hoff.
He says, I'm 38 years old, which is a weird way to start this. But and European football has lost a lot of quality. The only valid one and still doing good is the Premier League. They're way ahead of all the other leagues.
I'd agree they're ahead. I wouldn't agree they're way ahead. And if you live in those countries, or you're definitely not going to agree with that, are you? You know,
right?
Like
but on a global scale.
Yeah, on a global scale. But then again, those leagues haven't. Why is the Premier League so known around the world? I mean, a lot of it started when it became the Premier League. The deal with Sky Sports, the worldwide coverage just grew from there, right? Like, it's on La Liga and Serie A that they haven't done something like that. Their TV networks don't appear, I don't know if they are, they don't appear to be as interested in doing something like that. Somebody at Sky was like, we're going to sell the rights to these, or the Premier League, sorry, was like, we're going to sell the rights to these games everywhere. And it's just grown and grown and grown and grown. And then obviously social media has helped it explode as well. So I think those leagues have no one else to blame as far as the worldwide global coverage goes. But if you live in Barcelona, you know that club and the football they play is everything to you. No different to you and United or Hoff and Spurs or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. Subscribe to the 91st Minute here on YouTube and use the links in the description to follow us on all social media platforms.